final whistle was blown at Molineux. It has finished. Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, West Ham United 0. That incredible away record, which stretched right back to April, has gone. West Ham beaten on the road for the first time in 7 months at Molineux, thanks to a second half goal from Raul Jimenez, the only goal of the game, coming shortly after the start of the second half. Rio, disappointing. And it's a shame, isn't it? Because we've just not been at the races today.
It's one of them days, isn't it? You know, we as we've said, we've been unbeaten away from home since April, which 7 months. You're not just counting run-of-the-mill away league games. You're counting trips into Europe. You're counting cup games at Old Trafford. You know, it's been a magnificent run. But today was just one of them days where I don't think any West Ham player really stood out. Nothing really gelled until the subs were made towards the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes. When Vlasic come on, Yarmolenko come on. We didn't string two passes together. Incredibly disappointing performance, but look at the bigger picture. Look how far we've come as a club. Despite the fact we've lost today, we're still third. And until the game tonight, we're going to remain in third. And we ain't going to drop out the top four this weekend. We're a good side. This is a blip. It's sad to see this happen. This is a blip on our road into immortality, which is going to happen really soon when the investment money comes in January. We buy all the players that Newcastle want to buy, but obviously they won't be able to afford them because we're going to get them instead. But no, disappointing performance today. But I can't really moan because we've had so many good times in the last 18 months under David Moyes. It'd be really harsh to pick holes in something like today, where despite the fact we got battered for a large proportion of the game, we was never out of it until the end.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, it's disappointing, isn't it? But I mean, what do you think, though? Was it because we just didn't play today, or was it more because Wolves didn't give us the opportunity? Are we not giving them enough credit for the way they played today? Because they really stifled West Ham's attack, didn't they, throughout the game?
I think Wolves got it spot on tactically, and that was the key thing today. The first 10, 15 minutes was the much brighter side. But once Wolves got their tactics, they kind of regrouped, rethought, they cut off some supply lines to Declan Rice. They didn't allow our two attacking midfielders in Ben Rama and Fornals any room to breathe, let alone create any kind of constructive passing.
Yeah.
What you've got to give Wolves complete credit here. They, as you said, they stifled our attacking outlets. They got their tactics absolutely spot on, and it's done a treat. As we said, if they'd take their chances, it could have been 3 or 4-0, and we'd have had no complaints about that because we really went at the races. But that is because Wolves have done a job on us absolutely spot on tactically.
One of the reasons I mention that is because listening to the Wolves manager Bruno Lage during his pre-match press conference, should I say, on Friday, he was really effusive in his praise of our midfield, and he pointed out during the press conference that there's no hiding. He was clear that's where West Ham's greatest threat was. I mean, I'm just trying to find his comments now. This is what he had to say about West Ham's midfield on Friday. He said they're not just dangerous when they're attacking, but it's also very important when they're defending because they close the pitch in the middle. He says they're very strong because it's not just the attacking statistics and the way they score goals, but they're also strong when they're defending, especially the three midfielders. They're very aggressive in that area to win the ball with good first touch to win the transitions. And again, he continues, their midfielders are strong to press and the three strikers in front of runners, so we need to be careful about that. The strategy is based around that. So quite clearly there, he was under no illusions that that's where West Ham's threat came from. And to his credit, I mean, as you said, you've got to say he got that spot on. Rice and Souček, have you ever seen them, or not ever, but certainly this season, have they ever been as ineffective as they were today? If so, I can't remember a game when that's been the case.
No, I mean, certainly, if one has an off day, which is incredibly rare, the other one shines normally. But today, both were cut off and cut out this game completely. As for all the three attacking midfielders in front of them. The only person really shone today for us in the attacking sets was Jared Bowen.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm not used to talking this long. And Mikel Antonio, anonymous. large parts of the game. Pablo Fornells, anonymous for large parts of the game. Saeed Ben Rama, anonymous, ineffective, large parts of the game. Souček and Rice, not in this game at all. You can say that about one or two of our team. You can never say it about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And you got, again, it was harking back to it. They've got their tactics spot on it today. They've cut off every kind of ammunition we had. They cut off every outlet we offered. You know, they starved their attacking players of any space, time, and I've got to say, it's a thoroughly deserved victory from all. So they've got everything today, absolutely 100% spot on. If we'd have done that on another team, we'd be so effusive in our praise, it'd be unreal.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. I think they've done a really good job, and huge credit to the manager who certainly got the better of David Moyes today. Just having a quick look at some of the comments on Molyneux Mix. We'll take a look at the KUMB.com forum in just a moment through with Rio. But some comments, understandably, they're delighted at getting those 3 points. Greco Wolf saying that my stress levels went through the roof. What a result, and it was thoroughly deserved. If West Ham are title contenders, then on that performance, so are we. Fair point, really. Fair point. Tring Wolf says it was a brilliant result and performance, and we deserve more goals. I thought Semedo was excellent, which is interesting because most of his fans were slagging him off at half time. DJ Mikey Dickens says very good. I don't remember Sarr making a save, which goes back to a point that Rio and I were making just before the final whistle. An all-round great team performance. Neves was absolutely superb today, and we'll come back to that in just a minute. Old Gold Ed says, I'm over the moon. I would have bitten your arm off for a draw before the game, so well done, lads. DeWolfman says 10 out of 10 to Lager for tactics there. We kept possession, wait for a bit of magic from Podence, then boom, well done, Bruno. JRPB3, a good win. We were in control for most of the game, a bit better ball to the front. Some of the time it could have been a bit more comfortable. Good game from Nuri, not at his best with the final ball, but a great finish from Raul for the goal. So, Hogan stole my wife, says, get the frig in. What a wonderful result against the informed team of England, and we bloody deserved it. I hate the defensive way we hold on to leads, not because it isn't effective, because it stresses me out. So happy for Podence and Jimenez. Clearly delighted up there in the Black Country, Rio. I'm guessing down here in East London and Essex, the fans aren't quite so happy right now.
There's a mixture. There's a lot who obviously are unhappy, and as we know, when defeats happen, emotions run a little bit higher, things get said. But I'm going to point out one particular post that I'm going to start with from someone who normally gets a little bit of stick on the forum, and he's normally one of the more negative Nellies, shall we say. Billy Dino has put, well played Wolves. No one has dominated us in a game like that in a long, long time. I'm still not sure why Zuma's goal was disallowed. It should have been left to VAR at least. But for Billy to come out with that first particular sentence and phrase, no one has dominated us like that in a long, long time. Yeah, that speaks volume to me. Yeah. Going through some more comments, Hammer Owlsport, it's just one of them games. Fabianski and possibly Lanzini was the only two who played well. It's a poor day, and Moyes wasn't at his best either. Fornells and Dawson were absolutely awful, and I can't wait until we don't see Yarmolenko play for us again. But Wolves were good, and they played better than us. On to the next one. Il Mortello de Genesi, but player ratings would basically tell the story of that performance. Far too many 5 out of 10 performances throughout the whole team. Going forward, we were toothless. I really don't know what's happened with Souček this season, but he's certainly not the Souček of last. I don't complain too much, as we will still be in the top 4. But I hope we've got whatever that was that we had today out of our system. Rice perhaps wasn't 100% fit, and having him and Souček not at their usual levels really hurt us. Kick the car. When you have a relatively poor game and your opponents nullify most of your game plan, there's only going to be one outcome. Wolves worked their goal well and deserved the 3 points. I expect more of these performances to come from us as the burnout increases. Anderson too has put, Wolves appeared a bit better team today. Only saw a bit of the first half where we couldn't keep the ball. Did play better after their goal, but we didn't deserve anything. Credit to Wolves, who set up the game plan well and executed it. It's a shame. Bonzo's bid, fair play to Wolves. They did very well, especially as we looked really good in the first 15 minutes. This isn't a bad time to lose just before the January window, as we clearly were not always as good as we think. Genk was a wake-up call. We've barely lost an away game all season, so chin up to all the players and fans out there. And PF has put, there's lots of overreaction here, chaps. Wolves plays a cute team, and he has them playing very decently. When your team will find it tough to win more than you, we didn't get going. I'm not really sure what some of us expect now, as we're officially massive. The thread has seen people dig at Moyes, Zuma and Antonio, which beggars belief, if I'm honest. I'm glad I gave up my ticket today. I'm also glad I'm not active here on match days, as some of you really need a reality check. There was a few comments I haven't picked out, but Kurt Zuma's come in for quite a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
One said, this is what obviously why Chelsea got rid. Zuma, what the hell? I didn't think he had the worst game out of our back four today either.
I'm not seeing that either. I'm not sure where that's coming from.
No, I can't really understand it. But yeah, the undercurrent was there. The Zuma was coming for a lot of stick. Did have his best game of the day, but I think out of their defensive setup, it was probably the pick.
I mean, there also doesn't seem to be any acceptance there that he was moved from the right side of that centre half pairing to the left side, which is not, it's not his natural side. So he's not going to feel completely comfortable there. Of course, he's playing next to Craig Dawson instead of Angelo Ogbonna. I think that's harsh. I mean, the best chance we had of the match, which we'll come to in just a second, was obviously the opportunity where we stuck the ball in the net. We think it wasn't Zuma that was penalised. We think it was Antonio. It would be interesting to see what comes out about that. But I think that's really harsh. I mean, I think personally, I felt Rio that out of the two, he was the strongest centre half. He made a couple of rickets, but playing without his main partner, he's just beginning to gel and develop that relationship with. It's always going to be problematic, and it's going to take time to kick him. But I mean, to say that that's why Chelsea got rid of him, that's possibly the most nonsensical statement I've heard this season. It just beggars belief to me. But I'm sure that's just reactionary and someone not thinking, too deeply about what they're saying. But I think we're sort of saying, well done, Wolves. You've done a number on us today, and that's fair enough. I totally agree they did. But can a side with aspirations of finishing in the top four afford to be, bettered by? I hate to say, I'm not going to say it, actually. I was going to say a team like Wolves, and I've just said it, but I'm going to take it back because that's a horrible thing to say. As we know, we've heard supporters from other clubs say it about West Ham in the past, but I'm talking about a team that's perhaps, mid-table. It sounds even worse. I'm just digging a hole here, aren't I? But you know what I'm saying? It's a team who wants to finish top four against teams who aren't necessarily challenging for the top four, shall we say. You've got to be putting in better performances than we did today. And yes, I suppose we can say it's a one-off, but the problem is you look at our fixture list, and in the next three games we play Manchester City and Chelsea, and they're certainly going to be an awful lot tougher in terms of an attacking threat than Wolves were today, aren't they?
Yeah, certainly. I think this is part of the learning curve that we're going to experience. Yeah. We know that if we play against the so-called bigger teams with bigger budgets, that we sit back, soak up their possession and hit them on the counter, we're more than capable of beating them. Likewise, when there are lesser teams who probably allow us to play with a little bit more space and freedom, who aren't quite at our level, we can destroy them. Mm-hmm. It's that middle ground where the teams all come at us with a different tactical approach. Like today, Wolves nullified everything we had. This is part of the learning curve. We have to deal with this. We have to kind of cope. We kind of had this criticism of Moyes last year, where against the bigger sides, we kind of looked a little bit lost and not as proactive.
Yeah.
And you walked in the games thinking the inevitable was going to happen, which for the large part it did. We kind of countered that this season. It's now dealing with the team to come at us with a different tactical approach. Now we've got to adjust. And I dare say David Moyes and his setup are going to look at this game today, look at it back in some depth and think, this is how we improve. This is how we get better. Now, I have no doubts about that whatsoever. We've dealt with every kind of tactical outcome before and countered it. This is the new one today. And as I said, as people said on the forum, I think it's probably the best tactical display against us we've seen since probably Moyes took reins again.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I mean, full credit to Wolves. They completely nullified her. I mean, I can't remember the last time we saw a West Ham team not force a save from the goalkeeper in the entire game. Probably maybe when we played against Arsenal in the Cup in Moyes' was it his last spell? I think it was his last.
That was his first spell, just before Christmas.
When we drew 0-0. It was just bizarre today. Just not at the races at all. But as we said, it's the first time it's happened for some considerable time. It's just a shame to sort of lose that away record in those circumstances. It just didn't play. But Rio, I'm just going to say this quickly. I know you don't want to know the score, but I think you're going to enjoy the England game a bit later. The rugby game looks like an absolute classic, and I don't even watch rugby. But enough about that anyway. Where are we going next? Yes. Predictions. Well, we were both right. I'm not sure we're going to take any comfort from that, but we both predicted a Wolves win this afternoon. We both said 2-1, so 1 goal margin of defeat. Just about right, but it's an unfortunate one this afternoon. West Ham just not playing. Should we do man of the match, Rio? Get that out of the way. You can go first.
I'm actually not a lot of candidates, obviously.
No.
I'm probably going to give it to Lucas Fabianski because he made at least one save, which kept us in this game, possibly 2. Sorry.
Yep.
The whole attacking unit didn't function as we've gone over numerous times. I think Jared Bowen was the brightest spark out of a lot, but again, you got looked at. He should do better. With those 2 chances that he had, one of them has got to be tucked away.
Yep.
Defensively, we was all but a C. But Lucas Fabianski, under pressure from a competition now, has risen, hasn't he? He's
totally.
He's looking like the keeper that we knew. He's not as sharp as he was, but he's 37. He's in told not to be. But when he's called upon to make a shot-stopping save, he didn't let us down. And without him today, again, like I said, he could have been 2-3-0 easily.
Yes. Who was it? Podence, wasn't it? In the 56th minute, that shot that he tried to lift over in the chip into the far corner. It's a really, really good save. And of course, that one in the first half, Moutinho in the 34th minute, when Moutinho tried to lift it over him. I'm not sure it was dipping under the bar, but it looked like it was going to hit the bar anyway. And Fabianski was first to it. Certainly doing a decent job. But I think you're right, in terms of man of the match. I thought Cresswell was busy out there. I thought he had a good game on the whole. But even still, that you can point to 2 or 3 occasions in the first half where he conceded possession really cheaply, and on another day, 1 or 2 of those would have ended up in the back of the net. So, and our default candidate, who we normally go to in circumstances like this, Declan Rice, looked to me like he was still not completely fit. We know he'd had that really debilitating illness and played through it against Liverpool, pulled out of the England setup because of it. And to me, he didn't look like he was fully recovered, or at least, hadn't regained match fitness since. I think they showed Mickey Antonio, absolute shadow of the player that we saw earlier in the season. And again, I think you've got to put that down to the fact that he's travelled so far in the last couple of weeks. Thomas Souček, just you talk about shadows of the players they were. I think there's a bit of a problem we've got there. We've given Declan Rice that license to roam a little bit further forward. I think that comes at a cost, and I think we're seeing that with Souček. He was immense last season, and you've got to say he's probably been one of our least effective players so far this year. And I'm not sure he really knows what his role is with Declan bursting forward, so much. You made the point, and I think this is a really, really good point, and I think this is something for Moyes to think about in the week before that next game. Ben Johnson been playing absolutely brilliantly in the last few weeks. Didn't really put a foot wrong today. Maybe 1 or 2 poor clearances, but apart from that was solid. But what was he offering on the right hand side? Now, this is, as I say, this is a point you made, and I thought it was a very, very salient point in the second half. Soufal will always offer you something in attack as well. It might not be 100% at the back. Might come of at a bit of a cost, but we had nothing on that. Right, if you assess that game, everything we created on the flank was coming on the other side from Cresswell. There was nothing. I can't think of one cross that Ben Johnson put in today. So I think, you know, you spotted that early on, but I think that's real food for thought now this week from Moyes. Does he persist? You know, is it a point where he says, well, you know, Ben, fantastic defender, but we need something else, you know, on the other side. We need to offer a balance when we're going forward. I think we made it a little bit easy for Wolves today in that sense. And I think if you're Wolves manager, you're probably looking at that and thinking, well, where's the threat going to come from? Let's double up on Cresswell and, you know, let's just keep an eye on the other side because Johnson's nowhere near the threat. And that's one of the things you get, isn't it, when you take Soufal out? So I think that's a really, really solid point you made there. And I think that's going to give David Moyes a sleepless night or two this week. What else? Kurt Zuma. I maintain at that point that Callum made up from the KUMB podcast was spotting at halftime that he wasn't quite sure about playing on the left hand side. He's not. That's not his usual side. Craig Dawson was in and out of the game, wasn't he? Did okay and wasn't, you know, not his best game. Ben Rama, where was he today? That was like the Ben Rama of last season. Fornals, Pablo Fornals. I mean, incredibly quiet. It was just one of those days, wasn't it, where there's not a single play you can say. I mean, it's going right, you know, rolling right back to about half an hour ago when we started this particular conversation. It's got to be Fabianski by default, I think, the player that gets the man of the match award because he made those saves, kept us in it. There was also, who was it? Let's just have a look at my notes. There was a save he made in the first half where he got down low to his left. Do you remember the one where he was stumbling to get it? The shot was going wide, but no, it was another one, wasn't it? It was just after that where he got down and tipped it round. Maybe it was the second half. Anyway, whatever it was, there's two or three good saves that he made there to keep us in the game. So, you know, it's got to be Fabianski. If you disagree with us on the live chat, let us know who you felt was man of the match and explain why, because it'd be interesting to hear a different perspective on that. We're waiting to see if Pinky, the Pink Palermo, joins us. He's at the game today. We're hoping he's going to come on the stream, but he's not appeared yet. So we'll hang on for a little bit more just to see if he comes on. But let's have a look at the other results quickly, Rio, and also match stats. I mean, this shows that we were better in the second half, I think, because Wolves, was it something like 65, 66% possession they had in the first half?
I think, the first half, yeah.
Well, at the final whistle, it was 53-47 in Wolves' favour. So we certainly picked up in terms of, you know, getting our foot on the ball in the second half. Shots, Wolves, 15 shots, 5 on target. West Ham, 9 shots, 3 on target. And of course, 3 of those, as we pointed out several times, were in the first 13 minutes. I think the rest were mostly at the end. We had that Rice shot, didn't we? About 10 minutes into the second half, 12 minutes into the second half, that was a bit speculative, didn't do anything. Antonio, 65 minutes, and then 70 minutes, 3 or 4 shots in the last 20 minutes. So, you know, really not the races. 7 corners to Wolves, 3 to West Ham. So, you know, the stats there really summing up the game. Quick look at the results. Have you got the results there, Rio, or do you want me to do it? Do you want to run through them?
I've got the results.
Okay.
So, from earlier today, Leicester 0, Chelsea 3. Insert your own booze at will. Steven Gerrard gets his English Premiership managerial career off to a winning start. 2 late goals for Villa. They beat Brighton 2-0. Up at Turf Moor, Burnley 3, Crystal Palace 3. Never often you say that a rip-roaring goal-scoring extravaganza involving Burnley, but today's a lot of firsts happening. So, 3 goals for Burnley. Me, Wood and Cornet. Palace scored twice for Christian Benteke. Again, if you want to hold on to something while you go a little bit dizzy at that stat, then feel free. And Guaya scored for Palace. Carrow Road, Dean Smith, again. Hold on to things. Norwich win 2-1.
Back-to-back wins for the Canaries, yeah?
Dean Smith, boring Dean Smith, has got side scoring 2 goals. Back-to-back wins for Norwich with 2 different managers.
Unbelievable.
I'm thinking they might take the option of sacking a manager every week and hoping by May they could have 30 odd managers and be in the Champions League. If this happens, I'm coining it, I'm trademarking it. At Vicarage Road, if you like to say a collective oh dear on a count of 3, follow me. 1, 2, 3. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Watford 4, Manchester United 1. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Ollie. And at Molineux, I don't know that one. Now sod that.
Forget that.
I can run through the whole of the league if you want me to. The whole 4 divisions, the conference, Scotland. It's corners of the world if you want, but I'm a man of few words, so my voice is going.
Not quite so few this afternoon, of course, because it's been yourself and I keeping the fires burning at KUMB Towers this afternoon. It's not often we do this, is it, with just 2 of us? But
we did it at Leeds early in the season, just us 2, and we had a happy ending. Today, I don't know who to blame. I'm blaming Noam.
Let's blame Noam because he's not here and he can't speak for himself. That sounds good. Premier League table, Rio, we're still 3rd. It's just that there's and actually, if you look at it, I'm assuming that's the latest league table. Let me just refresh this to make sure it is. Yeah, I mean, Wolves up to 6th now, above Manchester United, above Tottenham, Everton, and a lot of their peers, clubs. Well, apart from us, I suppose you'd say we're one of their peers generally. Leicester down in 12th, but it's turning into a rather good season for Wolves, isn't it? To their credit.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sticky start under the new regime, but he's generally a nice little side here. It's going to take a while for their tactics to kind of stick in and get connected, but he's done it. He's turning it around. They're doing okay. They're not a bad outfit. And if you're another thing I looked at here with the league table, all the sides in the top 6. Only 3 of those have got goal plus goal. Sorry, 4 of those got plus goal differences. Those who have got, like Chelsea have got a plus 26, Liverpool plus 20, Man City a plus 16. We've got a plus 9. Dare I say, and I hate to bring this up again, the amount of money them not spent over the years, where us on a threadbare shoestring budget, threadbare shoestring squad, we're doing all right. Today's a one-off. It's one of them things. Wolves are improving. They've got a decent manager. They operate really well tactically. We ain't going to drop out the top 4 this weekend. We're 12 games into the season, plus 9 goal difference. Things looking great, kids. Just, it's a one-off. Let's move on. Let's go again in a week.
And and after all, we've only got the top 2 to come in our next 3 games. No problem at all. We know we raise our game for these clubs, don't we? So
that they will suit our style of football a lot better than Wolves did today. Wolves did a job tactically against us, as we've discussed.
Yeah,
you can't imagine Chelsea and Manchester City setting up in a defensive manner to try and nullify us.
Yeah, and that's a really, really interesting point you make about the goal difference. I'm not sure I've ever seen a table look anything like that. I'm just counting through. There's only 5 clubs out of the 20 that have got a positive goal difference, and that's quite remarkable. You got the top 4: Chelsea, Man U. To Man U, top 4: Chelsea, Man City, West Ham United, and Liverpool. And the only other club with a positive goal difference is little old Crystal Palace, down in 9th with +1. Arsenal, Wolves both level. Man United -1, Brighton -2, Tottenham -7. I repeat, Tottenham -7. Everton level. That's a bit weird, isn't it? Only 5 clubs with positive goal difference.
It's completely bizarre, and it just shows how financially skewed the league is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the top 3 out of the top 4, again, I'm discounting us because we're little West Ham. We're punching above our weight. We shouldn't be there. We don't deserve to be there. The other 3 clubs in that top 4 have spent billions over the years, and I think their goal difference reflects that, as well as their league position.
Yeah.
I think it also puts into perspective just how well we're doing this season. And not just this season, but building on from last year as well. We're top 4 on merit.
Interestingly,
it's a bizarre season. But teams have got quite hefty goal difference, minus goal differences down the bottom.
Yeah,
hefty at the top, and it shows how close this league is. That anyone who wants to look at it, study it for themselves. It's quite a bizarre setup.
Yeah,
there's not many points separating the top from us downwards. I think there's 6 points separating 10 places.
Yeah. You take Chelsea out of the equation there, and a run of 3 or 4 wins, and you're right up there, aren't you? It's extraordinary. Interesting, talking about Wolves as we were. They've only won 1 game fewer than we have this season. You look at the plaudits that West Ham have been receiving. I think that's, just shows that they're going unrecognised a bit at the moment. They're certainly playing well, I guess, because they've lost 5 of the 12 as well. They seem to win or lose Wolves. There's no sort of middle ground, but they're certainly having a very decent season. I'd imagine they're incredibly happy up there in the Black Country with that change they made, given how they've done so far. But one thing I want to touch on, I don't think Pinky's going to be joining us. I've got to say, I think I hope he's all right. I hope he's managed to get through that the tunnel outside Molineux. Okay, we all know what a nightmare that's been over the years, having to come out of the ground and make your way through there. But one thing I did want to touch on, and now this has been in the news the last couple of days. You'll have seen him on Instagram last night wearing a West Ham shirt. Is it that or the other? I can't remember where it goes. Something like that. Anyway. Whatever. No, it's finger bobs, isn't it? But Jesse Lingard, would he have made a difference today?
Yeah. How can I put this? Jesse, we signed him on loan. He seemed to love it here. The whole thing with wearing the Declan Rice shirt, watching the England game over the summer. His name is always going to be linked with us forevermore. I still think, got a feeling he might go to Newcastle in the winter break. But rumours are that £10 million will secure his signature. I was proved completely wrong when he joined us. I always thought, what is he? He doesn't offer enough for me. He's not a good enough player.
Yeah.
I thought he only got in the England squad because he was a Manchester United player, which is 50% of the selection process nowadays, it seems to be. But he was an absolute revelation of playing for us. He suited our style of play. In the counter-attacking team, he showed every attribute you needed. I couldn't have been prouder of him and more pleased for him that the way that his loan spell panned out. Normally, sign players on loan, it doesn't always end well.
Yeah.
If some of the overtures coming out are true, and we're going to pick him up in the winter, I'll be more than happy, because although we've got a wealth of attacking options in midfield, like Nico Vlasic, I thought had a decent game he played today. He hasn't stepped himself in the setup yet, but he shows signs of promise, but he hasn't taken it to that next level. But you've got to say, is that because Ben Rama's played so well? Fornells has played so well this season? It's hard to crack in. With Jesse Lingard, you've got somebody ready made for that kind of, to step into the breach and take his team up a notch. Now, he attacks with verve, he attacks with pace. He's got an eye for goal. It's a far better player than most people have given him credit for over the years. He doesn't suit the Manchester United setup because they play a possession game of football. It's always side, hit. He doesn't suit that. He hits some of the team that, like we do, soak up possession, soak up the pressure, hit with pace, power, and intent. He is ideal for that. I think he'd be a mug to chase any kind of Geordie money. I think his spiritual home is here. I'd love to see him back. I never thought I'd say that 18 months ago because I couldn't stand him. But he's a West Ham player for me. He is an ideal West Ham player in this setup. And he's an asset to us. And for £10 million, you ain't going to get a better option than that anyway.
No, I mean, I totally agree with you. And also on the basis that when you make those signings in January, you normally expect the player to take not a few weeks, but a few months to settle. I mean, if they're settled by the end of the season, you've had a result, haven't you? I think usually. We saw it with Bowen and Ben Rama. They took a while to settle in. I think Thomas Souček sort of hit the ground running, didn't he? But that's quite unusual. But I think you make a really good point with Jesse, is that if he were to come back in January, it's almost like having a player back you've sent out on loan in a way, because he's only been away for 6 months, and he knows the setup, he knows the players, he knows the style of football. If you're looking for anyone to drop into that team as a ready-made replacement for Said Benrahma if he's tiring, or Jared Bowen, or Fornells, whatever, playing in any of those roles, I think you're right. I don't think you can have a player better positioned to do that. And it seems a little bit ludicrous that we're saying that £10 million is a pittance, but here we are in the wacky and wild world of football finance. In 2021, it is a drop in the ocean, isn't it? Relatively speaking. So I'm totally, and again, I'm with you, Rio. I was exactly the same, and I think most play, and almost it's a bit like David Moyes in a way, that we'd sort of written him off before he'd come and thought he was just going to be a sort of one-trick pony, a bit of a flash in the pan, but it was fantastic. And him and Moyes have clearly got some sort of, relationship there where they work together. And he also gets on really well with the players. I mean, you saw that bond. I mean, Declan Rice seems to have that effect on a lot of people, but they definitely developed a bond, didn't they, between them? And I think you could just slot in seamlessly. So for that reason alone, I'm sold totally.
There's another point as well, is that Said is also off the African Cup of Nations in.
Yeah.
So we've got a slot waiting to be filled. I think Niko Vlasic could fill that role completely. But you get one more injury, you get one more, as you say, fatigue player. You ain't going to get a better option at £10 million than Jesse Lingard, who will slot seamlessly into that team like he's never been away. And also another positive for me is that where he's not been getting regular game time for Manchester United, he should still be fresh as a daisy come January. He could walk into that side, say, seamlessly, and he's going to offer that kind of snap that we need. He's not going to be fatigued. Mentally, he'll be switched on. I think a permanent move would not only see what he did for us recreated, but also exacerbated as well. I think it'd rise to another level in our side.
Do you think if we took him on a permanent basis, it'd have the same impact, though? I mean, when you're only on a short-term loan, you've got to make it count, haven't you, if you're going to have an effect? If we give him, say, a 3 or 4 year contract, which keeps him into his 33, whatever, do you see him maintaining that form? I mean, do you think he's just that? Yeah.
I think most definitely. I think, as we've said, like loan deals, they either go one way or the other, don't they? They either work out really well, or they work out as a complete waste of time because the player just doesn't look interested or hungry enough. He looked both of those, but he also looked like he was enjoying his football. I think that's the key for him. He spent so long in the periphery at Manchester United that he wasn't enjoying football. He's not enjoying football this season.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't suit the style, the whole ethos around that dressing room. It's like a poison pit at the moment. You can just see the way that Ronaldo's affected certain players, and you hear rumours about what the effect that he's had. Every player sniping at the manager, I'd be chomping on the bit to get out of there quick as I can, play for a club you knew you was happy, you like your teammates and the rest of the coaching staff. I think you'd absolutely thrive here. Yeah,
I totally agree. And I think, nothing more to say, really. It's a no-brainer, I think, for both of us, isn't it? If you disagree, let us know on the live chat. If you don't think we should re-sign Lingard, let us know why. But Rio, of course, making that excellent point again, that Said Benrahma is off to AFCON in, is it February, Rio? Or is it January they go?
I think it's the end of January, but it runs it most of February, doesn't it?
So there is going to be an opportunity for a new player to come in. Someone else who is an option in that position, Niko Vlasic. What are you making of him? Do you think he's going to be a flop, or do you think this is another Benrahma where it's a case of, Moyes is taking a softly approach and introducing him slowly?
I think it's the latter. We saw it with Pablo Fornells. Well, when Pellegrini brought Fornells in, I thought he was promising. He looked good, and as he was just building up a kind of head of steam, Moyes took over and chopped him from the side. And it's one of the things that I was kind of really annoyed at with David at the start of his second tenure, because I thought you got a player there who's just new to the country, new to the whole setup, and you kind of dismissed him. But he came back, and he's come back twice the player in terms of hunger, desire, not just ability, but his whole ethic about work rate. He looks a new player. I think Vlasic has been integrated slowly. He's obviously worked with him at Everton before. And he showed 2 or 3 cameo appearances. I think today he looked really bright and really sharp today. And his link-up play between the midfield and Antonio, Yarmolenko up front today, it was really promising. One of the brightest sparks we've witnessed today, because there wasn't many to take.
That's true.
I think it's going to be like Ben Rama. He's going to introduce him into a little bit slowly, cajole him into the setup, get him used to the system, and unleash him. We can't afford to spend 30 million quid on someone who's going to sit on the bench for forevermore.
Mm.
He will play a big role eventually. And I think David Moyes, it's hard to change a winning setup, isn't it, as well? That's another thing. We've got a unit which has been working bar today so effectively and so efficiently. Where do you actually bring someone in to disrupt that flow and that pattern? You know, I think he's doing everything right. Both David Moyes and I think Vlasic is doing okay as well. He's not stood out. He's not shone like an absolute Lingard did, because he walked into the same and just transformed it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a softly approach, but in the long term, it's going to reap its dividends.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think he's a quality player, and I think he's gonna shine eventually. I just hope we give him a little bit of leeway, and that the supporters are patient with him, give him the opportunity to settle and do that, because he's clearly a talented lad, and you don't. David Moyes doesn't pay £30 million, does he, on a player that's not gonna have an effect. Let's talk briefly about the Souček conundrum. We touched on it, didn't we, a few minutes ago, that Declan Rice has been given that license to roam since coming back from England and the Euros. You know, he revealed that he'd had a chat with Kevin Nolan and David Moyes about being able to operate in a more advanced position, and he's done that. And to his credit, he's been successful. He's started scoring goals, but how much has that affected Thomas Souček? And has that been to Thomas's detriment? And if so, what's the answer? How do you resolve that situation?
It has definitely affected Thomas Souček this season. I don't think last year he went more than 2 or 3 games without scoring a goal. He was a constant attacking threat. This year, he's been completely nullified. He's not the paciest of the players either, so playing him in a more defensive role isn't necessarily suiting us or him. The only thing I think you can counter that is, again, but you're changing the dynamics of the whole 3 behind the striker.
Yeah.
Because you could play Souček more advanced, bring Alex Crow in who's a more natural defensive midfielder, just to sit in front and let Declan do his thing.
Yep.
And you play Thomas in a further forward role as a kind of auxiliary striker behind Antonio. But then you have to sacrifice one of Ben Rama, 4 hours of Bowen.
Yeah.
Barring today, would you do that at all? Because Jarrod Bowen's been a bit of a revelation this season.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Ben Rama, not been consistently outstanding, but he's delivered in terms of goals, assists.
Yeah, he's had a good season so far.
And he's improved vastly on last year by a million miles.
Mm-hmm.
You can't drop Pablo Fornells. Pretty awful game today, but he's in the
Spanish squad, and he's worked his way into the Spanish national team.
You do not get in the Spanish squad, even now when they're a little bit on the lax side, without being a decent player.
Yeah.
So then you've got to accommodate not only Declan in a different role, but in Souček. Then you disrupt the flow of them 3 who sit behind Antonio. It's a really hard one. I think it's credit to Thomas that he's playing a deeper role, and he's not excelled, because you don't notice him doing the things that we're used to not seeing him doing, like score goals, create havoc in the box and set pieces. But he's doing a quite efficient job as a more defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
And he's adapted to that quite well, despite the fact he's absolutely shattered as well. That's another thing. He's had non-stop football for nearly 18 months, 2 years now.
So is it more the case that we just don't think he's being as effective, whereas he's actually being quite effective, but just in a more defensive role. Is that more accurate, would you say?
I think that's definitely the case. And I think on the podcast that the guys do, they alluded to this, that his defensive stats were far superior than anyone gives him credit for. I know a lot's really into the statistics side of the game nowadays, but they do speak volumes at times. And it's another thing. Look, there's a lot of people who don't appreciate the work that people do off the ball. I think it's the modern phenomenon where you don't appreciate the likes. I mean, I think I'm trying to draw an analogy to when I was at my youthful stage and I'm going to games. A lot of people didn't appreciate what George Parris did in playing in midfield. A lot of people didn't appreciate Steve Potts as a central defender because it's not a glorious position, is it? A lot of people didn't appreciate what Steve Lomas did, and I hold my hands up here. I was one of those. But without those players, your team can't function. You can't operate. And Thomas Soucek, although he's not doing the glory role this season, he's doing a more than adequate job.
Okay, I mean it's a good point. Again, it's a good point you make, because there's a lot of modern day football is based around statistics. There's hundreds of sites that analyze things down to the last nth and all that. But one thing you can't analyze is the work rate off the ball, unless you're measuring, yards run, perhaps, or over the course of the match. It's not interceptions, it's not tackles, it's not headers won, it's not passes made. None of that is taken account of. So yeah, I mean that's a really good point. While you were saying that, I was just checking the stats out, Rio, to see how he compared to last season. And again, this is only one statistic out of millions out there, but I think it tells paints a picture of its own in terms of how effective he's been for West Ham in the forward, in the opposition half, should I say. And last season he played 56 matches for club and country, scored 14 goals. This season he's played 23 games so far. So, all right, it's not quite half, but more than a third. So somewhere between that, 3/5, say, I don't know, whatever. And he scored 2 goals. So he's played, just fewer than half the games, but scored 2 as compared to 14 goals last season for club and country. And that shows that I guess that most of his work is being, unless he's just, but it's not, is it? It's not as if he's having loads of shots or headers and missing them. He's not getting the opportunities.
Yeah,
like he's not that advanced.
He's not getting the advanced positions from his midfield role as he was last season. And I think that's another thing you just mentioned. He's played 23 games this season already
for club and country.
Yeah, and we're just at the end of November. There's a good 6 months of football to come. So potentially he could be playing an horrendous amount of games.
Yes.
It's no wonder he looks a little bit leggy, a little bit tired at times,
What did you say it was until Christmas? Was it another 12 games you said before Christmas?
I think it's 12 games up until January the 1st, where we got Palace away. I'm sure it's 12 games in 38 days.
I think it's more than that. I think I saw something the other day. I think it's 12 games until Christmas. So then you've got Boxing Day and the game in the middle that week. So, but even if it's 12 before New Year's Day, that's 35 games in the first half of the year, and he played 56 in total last season. Yeah, and bear in mind that's taking into account that he played in the Euros. So he could feasibly be playing 60, 65, up to 70 games if West Ham progress in the cup competitions, which is madness, really. But anyway. There you go. The Thomas Soucek conundrum. I hope we've managed to assess and sum up all the angles for you on that one. We're gonna wrap it up very, very shortly. But before we do, we're going to take a look ahead to our next game. Before we do that, I'm going to have a quick look at the comments, because there's some of you have been firing comments over in the live chat, and it would be remiss of me to not mention some of those comments. Schizo Base says, when are we going to find an alternative formation for when Antonio isn't working? He should have been pulled, but wasn't that? And that's an interesting one, because both you and I felt that Yarmolenko was going to come on for him, but it wasn't. It was Bowen. Was that the right choice?
In hindsight, I actually think it was, because when he did come on, Yarmolenko, we offered that different shape and that different dynamic, which Wolves, I think, found hard to counter at times. We looked a lot brighter. mean, maybe Bowie could have stayed on because he's looked a bit more energetic, and Antonio should have gone off. But having the two up top like that, no, it did offer a different question from Wolves, and we did look a lot more brighter than we had done for most of the game.
Yeah, we certainly looked better, didn't we? I mean, I'm trying to, let's see, who was it that mentioned it? If I just scroll up a little bit, I can't find it now, but someone suggested that Manuel Lanzini should be given man of the match because he looked so much more dynamic, or we looked so much more dynamic as a team when he came on in the second. David O'Rourke, it was who said it. Said I'll probably give man of the match to Lanzini. Him coming on finally sparked us into some semblance of life. Yeah, a good point. Hobo saying it's the final ball that's been so poor for a lot of the season, even though we've done superbly. Lingard should correct a lot of that. Harking back to what we're saying about potentially bringing Jesse Lingard in January. And David O'Rourke again saying Declan Thomas's best game as a unit this season was against Liverpool, where they both reverted to their original roles. So another interesting point there. But and finally, I mean, this is probably a good one to sum up on. Polaroid says, if you'd have offered me 3 points last week from the Liverpool and Wolves games, I'd probably be quite happy with my lot. So, I guess that's a fair comment, isn't it? It's just disappointing when you've taken those points against Liverpool to go, and play Wolves and throw away all that good work, but not profit from it, I guess. But good stuff. I think we're going to leave it there, mate, so you can go and watch your rugby. You've been waiting to go and see. Let's have a quick look at our next game before we do. One more before we go. West Ham, 2 games, actually. I think we're going to be here for this one. And it looks like it's going to be played behind closed doors. West Ham's first match behind closed doors, I think, since we played at the Amex Stadium, wasn't it, back in May? Because we went to West Brom after that, and there's fans there, wasn't there? And of course, against Southampton, we had fans there. So I think it was the Amex game. We drew 1-1, didn't we? May, so 6 months. But here we are again. Austria in national lockdown from Monday, by all accounts, and we go to Vienna. Of course, I guess the good thing about that is that all those fans who were left out of pocket by that appalling decision by UEFA, well, not necessarily just the decision, but the timing of it means that they're going to be able to get their money back because the circumstances have changed. But I mean, Rapid are going to lose their home advantage now. It's going to be behind closed doors. Not a huge stadium, 23,000 I think was the capacity there, but this is the one. I think a point, Rio, isn't it? Is good enough to see us win the group. Or anyway, if we win, we know we've done it. How do you see this one going?
I actually think being behind closed doors might assist us a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the shenanigans of the first leg, I think might have fired up the home crowd. I know some of the ticketing aspects of the return leg could have led to a bit more of them kind of unsavoury incidents happening.
Yeah.
But I think being behind closed doors might take a sting out of the game for Rapid, and we can take advantage. The only thing I'm worried about is fatigue levels for us.
Yeah.
Particularly at the back. We've lost one of our major centre backs. He was rotating both at the same time, wasn't we? It was like Dawson Diop in the Cup, the Europa League, Zoom and Ogbonna in Premier League games. Now, we've only got 3 to play with there, so one's got to do an extra stint. So I worry about that a little, but, I didn't think there was a great side, Rapid. We've got more than enough tools to see them off.
Yeah. Okay. So a win for you. Back to winning ways on Thursday.
I think we'll at least get a point, but I can't see why we can't win.
That's a win for me, that one. I think they were poor, weren't they, in the first game? I didn't think they offered anything, and I think they're only 3 points off the bottom of the Bundesliga, the Austrian first division at the moment. And of course, they sacked their manager last week. I think it was. They got a new man at the helm, so you'd expect it to take a little time for him to settle. So I think that's a win. Just interesting to see the team. Do you think that Moyes will rest both Dawson and Zuma, and perhaps throw in Baptiste or Elise, in alongside Diop? Or maybe
I think there's a very good chance that happening, actually.
Yeah.
I'm kind of more inclined to say Elise is going to play.
Yeah.
Although after his Manuel Omoyemi incident during the
Yes.
the Football League trophy might get outcast of life. But no, I think
How ironic was it that it was Gillingham again that were the team involved?
Exactly. There's something about that place which
Steer clear.
we've got to eradicate from history, basically. But I think one of the youngsters might get a go because just because of the calibre of opposition we've got in the league following. You want two centre-backs, two first-choice centre-backs going into that game next weekend.
Yes.
Fresh.
Man City, of course, is the game you're referring to, which we'll touch on Thursday.
Yeah.
So what do we reckon? So we'll go for...
Isan probably, I'd say Elise out of the two. But
okay. So if we were picking a side, what do we reckon? Ariola in goal, I think it's a given. You're probably looking at maybe even Masuaku at left back. Surely Cresswell's got to have a rest at some point.
Yeah, he's played far too much football. He needs a break. He's done admirably well, considering, right? Yeah. But he does need a rest. So, but I still think he might play. I don't think Moyes
might as well
Arthur in a defensive role. So unless he brings in one of the youngsters, like Harrison Ashby, possibly, and
maybe. Well, he was in the squad, wasn't he, for the Ghent game? I think it was. Soufal back in the right, I would imagine. Unless
but
Johnson's
again,
going to be.
I'm not convinced he will, because if he looks at today, like we was discussing earlier, and he thinks he might need a more kind of experienced option playing at right back, something to offer a few more questions in an attacking sense as well. He might rest Soufal for Sunday.
Okay, yeah, it's a fair point. Centre of the park, Alex Krul is fit again.
I'd go Krul and Noble.
Krul and Noble, because he's resisted the temptation to do that, hasn't he? With Rice and Souček have played. I'm surprised at that, but you think this is the game where he'll say, we'll give you both that break.
Yeah. I think Krul must have recovered from his COVID by now.
Yeah.
And again, European-based football, he's used to that style of that tempo of football being played. Nobes has got his awful game out of his system in Belgium, hopefully. A little bit of experience, because we're going to probably have a kind of a young defence, so a little bit of experience to kind of cajole them for the game. Yeah. And you have an attacking triumvirate, probably of Lanzini's going to start.
Yeah.
I dare say Vlasic will start. Yeah.
Yarmolenko
probably up top. I think he'll have... I don't think he'll change either. I think Bowie might get another game as the third option in midfield.
We've not mentioned Ryan Fredericks, who I believe is fit right now.
Oh, if he's fit, then he's a natural right back for me, because you save Soufal for next week, give Johnson a little rest.
Or I suppose the alternative is to even throw Fredericks on the left.
Potentially, yeah, because he's done that job admirably on a few occasions. Mm-hmm. And he clearly doesn't trust Arthur as a left back, does he?
Well, yeah, I was going to say we've not mentioned Masuaku yet, but I think it's quite clear, isn't it, that Moyes doesn't, as you said, doesn't trust him, doesn't think he's
unless the option is to play Arthur further forward and Cresswell just behind him. We've got options now. That's the thing.
Well, this is it. This is the point. Isn't it nice to be able to sit here and know that you could change that entire team, and you've still got a team that is relatively capable of going out to Vienna and picking up 3 points. Nice.
Yeah, nice. Absolutely. And we've still got the likes of Darren Randolph coming up front. We're almost not lost.
Ala Seeley. There you go. So it's not all bad. I mean, it's not been a good day for West Ham. We've suffered our first defeat on the road since, way back in April, some 7 months ago, when we lost at Newcastle. It's finished Wolves 1, West Ham United 0. The Hammer's just not playing today. But, the good thing is, and, we are going to concentrate on the positives, because it's been a fabulous, fabulous season so far. Just a bit of an off day for West Ham, who remain third in the Premier League. As things stand, and I think, Rio, that's right, isn't it? Only Liverpool can overtake us between now and the next round, so we're going to be in the top four still at the end of the weekend, which is a measure of just how well we've been playing. Not our day today, unfortunately, but you're going to get those off days, especially when you've lost your best defender and other people have had to come and fill in. But anyway, there you go. It's been a good one. Thank you to everybody for your company this afternoon on the live stream. Thank you to Rio for your company, as always. just the two of us today. Unfortunately, Pinky couldn't. Pinky, I hope you're all right if you're listening to this anyway, because I know you were trying to, or going to try and come in on the stream. I hope it's something as simple as you couldn't get a signal anyway. But safe journey home to Pinky and all the boys and girls travelling to the Black Country, to the Midlands this afternoon. We shall see you again on Thursday night. It is Rapid Vienna versus West Ham United. A win for the Hammers would ensure we win the group and go straight through to the final 16, isn't it, Rio?
Yep, that's correct.
Europa League. Good chance to get back to winning ways. Not been our day today, but what a season it's been so far. And let's make sure we're back at it on Thursday.
Right, so we're here in the offices of a Late Late Show with the host of a Late Late Show, James Corden.
Hi.
Big West Ham fan.
Yes. And big knees up Mother Brown, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm regularly on the general discussion page. There's always someone who's got some information, so I love it. Yeah. It's great. Yes, it's excitement surrounded by imminent disappointment. That's what it mostly is.
Get on the forum at KUMB.com. Come on, you irons.
massive. Come on, you Irons.